our second series of the day here. Canyon and SOFM. I think those are pretty good influencers for a jungler, right, guys?
SOFM is one of my favorite junglers, so
pretty darn good. Pretty good players, in fact, to try and model your gameplay off of. But my favorite part of hearing that Eugene review was hearing that Tomo had really stepped up in terms of his shot calling and contributing to the comms of the team, because you cannot be a vocal player and a player who's autopiloting. It is incredibly hard to do both those things at the same time. And so I feel like that might be the difference, is Tomo has finally started actively participating again in his games, and that is one of the big reasons why he's not getting caught out, is because he's thinking about his positioning again.
He looks like a Tomo that we know and love.
Exactly.
That's why I've said that this entire week, and I'll say it through Proving Grounds as long as he plays up to this level, because this is what I always expect out of him.
And it's so interesting that it lines up the time frame with Joshi, what you were saying at the top of the show, how Tomo recently has been leveling up and playing at a much higher level. Well, if halfway through the split they got COVID, and then that affected the team communication for a couple weeks there, but then even Yuji's saying, but now we're talking more, now we're getting on the same page. I mean, hey, things are coming together at the right time in the split for FlyQuest Academy. Congratulations to them on the 2-0 win. We'll be seeing what happens with Dignitas Academy on the other stream in their match against Immortals to see what happens in the standings. But for right now, let's chat about Cloud9 Academy versus Evil Geniuses Academy, baby. Cloud9 still looking for a high seed here, but having gotten 0-2'd by Team Liquid Academy, they're no longer in the running for a top placement now. The top 3 is the best that they'll be able to go for.
I was about to say top 3 is so good.
They can get second.
Oh, they could get second, true.
Yeah,
depending on what happens with 100
Thieves. Still
Thieves.
A potential heist, right? Team Liquid, I'm told, has already won game 1 going up against 100 Thieves, and I'm told are leading in their second game. And so, if Team Liquid take both game 1 and game 2, and Cloud9 get a 2-0 today, Cloud9 will, in fact, receive second seed.
That's actually crazy. I wasn't realizing that based on the standings right now, but cool stuff. Let's see how Cloud9 can do this as we look at the head-to-head rosters between these two teams. Evil Geniuses Academy, there's a couple of big names and a couple of scary players on this roster. They don't always find a way to close out the game, but they are always a threat, even to teams at the top of the standings. This is a roster that you cannot sleep on, Joshi.
And it's also a roster that you look at that is surging at the right time as well. We've been talking about this with FlyQuest, but Evil Genius is in a very similar spot. And we already explored yesterday how this team was one of the first Academy teams knocked out in Proving Grounds in spring. They do not want a repeat performance.
It's crazy to think how early they got knocked out based on the form that they were coming into Proving Grounds with. But again, it's always a new split. It's a new opportunity to go into that tournament. And a win against Cloud9 would feel fantastic, not just for the team, but also for a very vocal member of the team in Surdy. As I believe that there was an interview that we did. He has his own opinion of some of the other top lanes in the league, and he's up against Darshan, one of the better ones. So let's hear from Surdy on his thoughts.
He's the only top laner in Academy I think is decent. I think everybody else kind of just sucks.
Is there a top lane tier list?
Have you not seen this?
No. I mean, I don't go on Twitter and Reddit that much anymore. I mean, like, okay, my opinion of tier list is just like, I think it's just all in good fun. I think there's a time where, like, before I was just like, oh man, like, how could this guy be ranked higher than me? Like, I can't believe this shit. But now it's just like funny because it's just like, who cares? I don't really care anymore. People can rank me however they want, right? Like,
but I think C9's going to be easy. Pretty much every single time we burst them, my bot lane just dumpsters them, and I dumpster top side of the map.
You got Evil Geniuses. You do it to Surdy. I feel like he needs to be brought down a peg. His ego's going crazy right now. But do you know who it's tied with? I love how I haven't gotten a chance to talk to Surdy, and I don't believe Mazelle's gotten a chance to talk to Darshan about it. But independently, we just brought up that conversation with the two of them and got them to chat, which was fantastic. And also, I have a working theory that Mazelle always wants to talk to Surdy because he always gets Surdy to smack talk.
Yeah, he does. That's what we love about him. Go follow him on Twitter as well. I would have to double check. I want to say it's SurdyLol_ would be my guess, but he always has fun tweets before almost every
match. We can check on that. We can confirm that by the end of this segment here because top lane is exciting, but the match that we actually want to highlight as a very impactful one going forward is between the bot laners, Cowrie versus King. Looking at Cowrie first.
Wait,
when we look at the skill, yes, Magical.
I was gonna say it's at _30, SRTTY. So now let's talk about Cowrie.
Now let's talk about Cowrie, a player that when we look at skill-wise, very high ceiling. Accolades-wise, hasn't accomplished too much in his career yet, but we do still expect him to have long legs. He is an MVP coming in from his region, despite the fact that he doesn't have as much time played in his own region.
Well, yeah, they do have... go ahead.
I was going to say, the big thing with Cowrie, too, is he's fairly young. People kind of forget that because he was the MVP from the Turkish League, from the TCL, but he's also a player that, despite on a team that was kind of middling, right in the middle of the pack, he still put up some impressive numbers, and that's what got him scouted in the first place.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the players alongside Luger that people were looking at to bring over from the TCL, but he only had one split that he played in the TCL, and much of his career was played in their Academy League, where he had 2 playoffs wins and 3 playoffs finals, but also, you know, in his best year in 2020, where they won multiple of the splits, he was also receiving accolades such as the MVP like we talked about, but he actually cares a lot more about the All-Pro team because that's voted upon by the other players. He feels as though that's more impactful, the opinion of his peers, rather than the opinion of talent like us.
It tells you a lot about his personality. As a player, he doesn't care if the broadcast recognize him. He cares that the competition recognizes him.
Cowrie follows me on Twitter, so I'll take that as a dub.
I don't know if he follows me. I'll have to check that out because maybe I'm jealous, maybe I'm not. Magical. Let's talk about the competition, though, as King is opposite on the Rift of Cowrie. And, oh, baby, when we look at King's accolades, they're pretty numerous.
He's pretty nuts, King is. It has been 5 domestic playoffs wins, 8 domestic playoffs finals. He went to Worlds in 2017, 18, and 19, and also MSI in 17 and 18, right? Like, this guy has been consistently one of the best performers coming out of the Oceanic region, and now that he's coming over, we're still looking for the same kind of highs from him. I remember when, you know, again, I keep talking about this. I made a tweet about the top 5 players that I was looking at for my most valuable prospect, and Destiny kind of chirped me. He's like, hey,
baby Destiny.
Yeah, where are our Cloud9 players? And King is definitely one of those players that could potentially earn his way there. And
what I like, too, is how King and Destiny, the lane that played so well in the Oceanic League back in the OPL days before the LCO days, yeah, that's what it's called. They were such a great duo. And when they got broken up, that's where you kind of saw a little bit of troubles for both players, where Destiny just didn't have that same impact that everyone expected. King also didn't just seem like he meshed with any other support, really, like he has with Destiny, and we've seen that this split.
I also just love seeing Baby Fudge on there. God, he looked so young.
That's how time works. That's how time works.
That is how time works, actually, everybody.
Don't remind me.
3 years ago, which is absurd to think about. But with that said, I'm here, and the Pick and Pan is ready. So the matchup in the top lane, 30 versus Darshan, Cowrie versus King. We'll get to see it all unfold right now as I pass it over to Magical and Joshi for Pick and Pan.
Let's get into this. See you later, Steve. We got a game to cast. It is Cloud9 Academy up against Evil Geniuses Academy. And as we talked about before, Cloud9, it was a rough 0-2 they had yesterday. The first game was all Team Liquid. The second game, they had advantages early, just faltered in mid-game. So honestly, going up against a team like Evil Geniuses, how they bounce back, what they look for to really grow themselves in preparation for Proving Grounds.
And let's remind people what the stakes actually are for this, because it's not that large, but they still has some standings implications, right? If Team Liquid win the next game against 100 Thieves and Cloud9 get a 2-0 today, then Cloud9 beat 100 Thieves on the head-to-head record, because they are 3-1 across the regular season. However, Evil Geniuses, if they manage to pick up a couple of wins, they can overtake Immortals in order to take the 7th seed. They cannot drop to the 9th seed. That is strictly between TSM and Golden Guardians, but Evil Geniuses can still potentially move up a little bit and potentially play an easier Amateur team.
Well, I was about to say, I think that the bottom 4 is a little skewed for Amateur because it's kind of topsy-turvy with who we see. I think Maryville is in that, but I don't know what position, what seed they're in, because that team is going to be a rough one to face off against. We saw that last time TSM Academy played up against Maryville in the play-ins. It was a 2-1. Yeah. It went TSM's way, but it was a close battle. And now, into this game, Jinx was taken immediately from King, which to me is just a bit shocking. We haven't seen that high of Jinx priority. We've seen high Jinx priority, but not first pick blue side priority.
Pretty rare. Cloud9 is one of the few teams that have actually been doing it right. King has been so good on these more traditional marksmen, and it's probably going to get matched with another marksman coming in from Kauri, something that might try and fight. And it's a bit surprising, right? Jinx is much more commonly counterpicked into the Zeri than Zeri is counterpicked into the Jinx. But that's just confidence coming through from Evil Geniuses. I do kind of want to go back to your point, though, talking about who is coming in from the amateur side. The bottom 4 teams from amateur, based on their circuit points they earned in the qualifiers. 7 is Evil Geniuses Prodigies. 8 is Maryville University. Not Tech 10, because Jake's Kitten's disbanded.
Yeah.
Is CLG Faith, and number 11, the last one, is going to be the DK crew.
DK. Donkey Kong. Anyways, I always get distracted whenever that comes up. Here we got an Akali picked up. It's funny because we always talk about flex when it comes to something like an Akali this early, especially. But here, I feel like that's pretty firmly Surdy. Soligo has been playing pretty much primarily Lissandra throughout the split, especially when they're starting to pick up these wins, and he's looked really good on the champion without seeing it touched and banned. I'm expecting that to be the R3 pick, with the Nautilus taken for Destiny in the spot lane, giving him a little bit more to play around to try to lock down Kauri into the game. I want to see Soligo get something that can also peel for his team.
Yeah, and we definitely haven't seen Soligo play Akali this summer yet. So we see a lot of fairly, I don't want to say like super surprising things. I think this Akali is the most surprising one.
Only to a degree, though.
Only to a degree. But I also kind of want to use that as a segue to kind of look at this top lane, because so far we're not seeing a whole lot of super surprising picks. The Akali might be the most surprising one, just because it's not something that's anybody on Evil Geniuses has played so far this split, but it's still very common in the meta. And that is the trash talk that Surdy and Darshan were kind of throwing at each other, right? And Darshan is saying, yeah, I don't care. I don't care what other people think of me. It's about who shows up on the day. Can I perform for my team? That's all that matters. And so far, statistically, Darshan is outpacing Surdy in every laning metric, and realistically almost every metric across the board. And it does help. It does help when you're winning. Your stats do look a whole lot better, just because Darshan is a psychopath when it comes to actually playing for his lane.
I was about to say, I think Darshan is even the top amongst the top laners as well, where you got Bradley you're competing against, you have Jenkins you have to worry about, Kumo starting to come into his own again. Looking at tenacity, especially, Darshan's still breaking some numbers there and being at the top of the standings. But that's why we see now a little bit of focus against Darshan, taking away Ornn, which again, to me, indicates this Akali is going top lane.
Yeah, definitely a bit surprising to see the Ornn ban, right? Not necessarily because of the Akali matchup, but more because Trundle loves playing into Ornn. It is so much stats to steal.
That is true.
Right? And especially if it's like solo frontline, because you have like secondary frontline.
That's Sejuani ban too. Okay, that one's even weirder.
I don't get this one's easy legendary. This one I'm a little bit confused on, because these are both champions that Tomio would love to play into.
Right.
Now we'll see what exactly they are trying to do in order to set up for this, because as the Braum does come through, it's a fantastic pick into the Nautilus, and we are seeing a lot of tools from Evil Geniuses kind of picked up, but they aren't necessarily trying to play to the same kind of style across the board, right? You have Zeri who's trying to kite around the edges of fights, you have Soligo who wants to dive deep and execute people on the backside, and then the Trundle and the Braum can kind of create some space, but they're definitely in this midfielders, right? They're not backliners. They're not going to be diving all on their own. They're just there to try and create space.
Victor going to be the lock-in for Copy in mid lane. The blind pick, essentially. We're expecting it at least to be blind pick, because we're expecting that Akali to go top side. If Lissandra's still wide open, I still expect that to be the pick. You got an Akali, something very mobile. Same with Zeri. You might as well get lockdown tools to even provide more support for them when it comes to team fights.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that Soligo is on something comfortable. He looks his best when he is creating pressure on the bottom side of the map. We saw it on Ryze. We saw it on the Lissandra. He's definitely played a fair amount of his years so far this split. And Evil Geniuses, they have plenty of damage, right? Between the Akali and the Zeri, but they still need to look for ways to try and get a little bit more engaged tools. They're definitely relying on Cloud9 kind of face-checking them and kiting back.
And Azir, even though I was expecting the Lissandra's a lot harder of a matchup going against Victor. You get outranged even early on into the matchup.
Yeah.
So Azir, something that could do the lane phase a little bit better against Victor, especially Copy's Victor. Copy is a player who a lot of these control mages, we saw how powerful he was. The Oriannas from last split, the Victor as well, was one of his most powerful champions.
Yeah. I mean, Copy has definitely been one of these players that in spring was 100% on my list of potential players that could earn the most valuable prospect. I feel as though his play in summer has not quite been up to the
I feel like he's had some slumps, but I do think that he's been playing
fine.
Well, I think he's been doing better as of late. From last week and this week, we've seen more of the Copy that we knew and loved in spring.
There are opportunities, right? Some of his movement has been super sick in these team fights. But that's part of why I have been looking at Darshan and King in particular, because they are super consistent in what they try and do. And while Darshan will go for crazy level 1s, will go for all kinds of plays in order to try and win the split push, he's still consistently coming out ahead in a lot of these moments. And he's on the Gnar. He's on the Gnar shot. We get to see
I know you love your Gnar, but
double. He's played so many games of it, man.
But it's against Akali. Isn't usually a Akali favorite in that matchup?
I do not love playing Gnar into Akali.
That's what I thought.
But the early lane is really good for Gnar, right? Because Akali's like level 1 through... level 1 is really trash, and depending on how Akali takes a couple levels, Gnar just gets to kind of free lane. The big thing that you got to look at is what happens when you start getting those first items to come through.
Good point. We'll see if they can get to that point where they can get those first items needed for Akali in the top lane. We get into our second series of the day. We have a nice best of 2 ahead of us. Cloud9 Academy trying to grab onto the second seed in our Academy split. Well, Evil Geniuses are battling to get the best seed possible in the bottom 4. If they can pick up a win here against Cloud9, and dependent on how the Immortal series goes on the other stream, they might just take that 7th seed.
And so, as Evil Geniuses, they move for a potential level 1. They do have the Braum, the best champion in the game, to start things off, but not going to be finding anything. And across the board, it feels as though both teams are kind of going for pretty standard game plans, and the only real wrench we have being thrown in is Surdy on this Akali. I believe this is his 17th unique champion played, right? He's played 8 games of Gnar, but he also has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9 characters that he's played at least only one game of.
Wow. Surdy really flexing his muscle in the top lane with the different pick styles, right? We've seen that from a lot of our top laners, though. I feel like so many of them are trying to flex their champion pool and how deep they can dig down in order to get the best advantages, or even try to get a good look in champion select. But now, Darshan, you talked about that level 1 being difficult for Akali. Shuriken flip in. We'll be able to get a little bit of damage back onto Darshan. And even Conqueror is now popped, so should be able to heal up, but the speed you get from Hyper is difficult for Surdy to keep up with.
Yeah, and there we go. Surdy, I mean, we were hearing him in his interview yesterday saying, you know, I criticized a little bit the Fiora pick into the Gnar, because that is not a good matchup into the Gnar, and he was talking about why, right? Some of the trade patterns are really strong for Gnar, because he just walks after you with the amount of movement speed that he has. This is a spot where both he and Darshan have already been showing that they are willing to take unusual leveling paths, right? Starting E at level 1 allows Surdy to actually keep up with Darshan and allows him to trade back, and they both got the door and shield, so they should both remain relatively healthy.
That's pretty much what we're seeing, because you look at the health bars from that skirmish that took them both below half. Now about 3/4 up, maybe even a little bit more. Darshan dives in. It misses the boulder, though. A boulder connects and gets a far better trade, but Surdy's able to trade it back because that missed.
Yeah, Darshan being very aggressive already. The difference, as you already called out, being not landing the boulder. And so, Surdy was saying that he typically smashes this matchup, and also his bottom lane smashes King and Destiny. And so that's a lot of pressure getting put on the Evil Geniuses lineup, who, again, we've talked about it a couple times, they are surging. C9 is a team that just absolutely thrashed CLG, who was already one of the teams that we were expecting to be our 4th place.
CLG with their slow decline as well. Been a bit rough for them, especially as we got to witness a 2-0 handed to them by FlyQuest. But here, in this game, this series, are on opposite sides of the standings for each of these teams. Each of them fighting for a completely different reason. And Cloud9, at the moment, they're looking pretty clean. Keeping things pretty calm, cool, and collected. Only really not having that lane priority from the mid lane.
Yeah. I mean, this is also a lane where you have to fight for priority if you want it. Like, Copy can get it. His laser is very strong, but Soligo can, both mages just like dump their mana into the wave in order to try and get the push. So you do have to fight for it. So it's not super surprising that Soligo was able to grab the priority there. But overall, nothing happening just quite yet. It's not the same kind of game last time where I was hoping for 2 kills a minute because we got the Yasuo, the Yone, and the Zed all in the same game.
More expected.
This is much more standard between these two teams.
Yeah, for this one, it's not out of the ordinary to see this kind of draft where they're playing a little bit more tempered, not really looking for anything, especially because you look at the junglers too. Trundle, really good at skirmishing early into the game. People always forget how powerful that Chomp can be as a tool to fight against something like Viego. So Shaden, he's more than happy with just kind of farming it out, waiting out for the time being.
As people back away, let's remember how some of these players look at their best, right? Shaden looks the best when he's helping out one particular lane, in particular Darshan, in order to try and snowball them and build up a big lead. That's part of why Darshan is #1 in gold difference at 10, #1 in experience at 10, and #3 in CS
so
at
Josh,
10 minutes, right?
Interrupt you.
What?
You then think that Shaden's going to focus a lot on top lane this game.
I feel like at this point, if he hasn't tried to make something happen, he's probably not going to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Right, because you generally look at the opportunity to play against Akali relatively early before they get more points into the
Twilight Shroud?
Shuriken Flip, the Twilight Shroud, and the ultimate, right? Because suddenly, Akali becomes so much more difficult to game.
True.
So instead, I'm going to be looking at the Evil Geniuses side of it, where suddenly Soligo, you know, he can't really make a lot of roams on his year 3-6, but he's getting close to getting access to the ultimate. And remember the number of times that he came down to the bottom lane in order to help out Kyrie and Smoothie? It was 6 times over the course of 2 games where he just kept going bot and going bot and going bot, and they kept finding opportunities to build leads.
That has been a lot of the reason we've seen some successes for Evil Geniuses as of late, is playing around the bot lane. At the moment, with the resets that Cowrie and Smoothie just took, the free Dragon Trade take out of Shaden. You understood that. Kind of saw that there was no priority bot lane. They even were getting some priority in mid lane so they could wrap around for that. But Tomio, now that he's back on the map with Smoothie right behind him, trying to fight around some chicken nuggets, steal those away. And I talked about it and teased about it before. Trundle against Viego. You always got to fear Trundle's skirmishing capabilities.
Yeah. And so as they go and take a little bit more priority, they are getting cut off from the bottom side of the map, but with the dragon already gone, it's not as though they are going to be losing more pressure there. And so, I also want to go back to one of the things that Serdi was saying yesterday in the interview, right? He was saying that he's expecting to do really well into PG because he attributes a lot of Evil Geniuses' success to their ability to play in the early game, right? He says that they are the best early game team, bar none, in the Academy system.
We've seen that a lot out of them. Now level 6s are hit, and Mini-Gnar for Darshan. 30 wants a nice flash, but... What?
It's a miss.
Can't believe you've done this.
I didn't actually see what Gnar's hop looked like in that fight, but it was definitely on cooldown during that whole play, and that's what prompted Serdi to be aggressive.
I just thought that had the distance to get over that wall.
It definitely does, but it looks like he tried to go over the thickest part of it, and just not enough distance in order to make that part of it happen.
That's so rough.
Darshan ends up getting away with murder. Or not murder, but a couple CS, you know?
I was to say, it's murder in a degree. It's more that he gets away with a bit of robbery, more like petty theft, as now... Tomio looks like he's going to skirmish. Level 5, Shaden flashed away, but he'll flash in with the pillar to the face.
That's a lot of whacking coming through already from Tomio. The skirmishing power, like you said. Copy.
Oh, copy. He's fine, though. He'll be fine. It's not whack, it's bonk. Did you not hear the legend of the bonk?
That's Nasus.
It's still a bonk. More because I like that song and I want that song to be sung more.
Well, we could get different versions of it, as Serdi doesn't have ultimate, shouldn't have a ton of kill pressure up against Darshan.
Even if it's mini form, you can get kited back pretty easily at this point. That's what Serdi's now facing. Sure can flip away. But with teammates nearby, sure can flip back in, get a lot of damage back onto Darshan. Darshan, he's one more proc. There it is. Gonna use the boomerang for it as well. But nice flash in from Smoothie on the other side. There's a little bit of skirmish. It's gonna be secured by Tomio, but they gotta pick up the eye, and now Tomio is in a lot of danger. Barely alive. The spear to the heart with the blade of the Ruined King.
Shaden still looking for his opportunity in. He's got the Trundle pillar.
But there are still reinforcements. but it will be a committed recall for Saligo. So Shaden turns. I've been taking the kill, denied the eye pickup as well for it. Oh no, it's picked up by.
Shaden got it.
I don't know why. I thought I saw the thing say that Evil Genius got it.
Nah, we good. It is Cloud9. They've been playing on the edge, and now they are coming out with a small lead in the top side as well. Because Darshan was so aggro, right? Constantly in the face of Surdy, he ends up getting the wave to crash and builds the small CS lead on the top side of the map. But we get to see another replay of this. It is Tomio whacking Shaden down across this fight. And Shaden, even with the flash, he's not able to get away from this one, and I was worried that that might be the death knell for Shaden, right? Typically, if he doesn't get something done in the first couple of minutes, his first gank goes awry, he doesn't have a lot of opportunities to come back. But this time, gets his comeuppance on Tomio.
Yeah, and it was a nice kill, steal as well. They get 2 for 1 special in that trade. Now top lane or bot lane. Whoa. Fighting across the map again. Nice pillar. Make sure it's harder for Destiny to flash, but Destiny, he knows his ways out.
Going to be just fine, right? It ends up being a situation where, you know, if Evil Geniuses is supposed to be the best early game team, they're going to be going into the rest of the game with not the kind of lead that we were expecting them to, right? The game plan that Evil Geniuses has been perfecting of Saligo roaming down to the bottom lane, of Surdy coming from the flanks in later team fights, has not necessarily come to fruition, but we do have another dragon to start taking control of, and Saligo and friends are going to be a little bit faster to actually take control of this bottom side river.
Control of the river is still, it's back and forth. I'd say it's not really controlled by anyone, even if they tried to get the control for Evil Geniuses. There's just a couple of control wards, and with the bot lane venturing out as well, as you pointed out, they only get so much control themselves. That should be cleared out. So look at what's happening at the map, and I'm curious to see, because I asked you where we'd expect to see Shaden make his first moves. He gets caught out and solo killed by Tomio in his own jungle, but it is towards the top side of the map that he made the play. Now, I feel like he needs to translate that lead towards the bot lane.
And we'll see how they end up playing it out, right? As they get the dragon, it is going to be matched up by Evil Geniuses. The Shaden wants way in.
Saligo tried to go the wrong way. He needs to go with his team. Nicely done to be able to escape with his teammates.
Yeah, I love the shift around. He initially starts going towards one side, and he's like, that's not the right play. Let's try something else. Goes towards the other side of the wall.
Okay. We had one solo kill. Will there be another flash? And no, it's going to be the perfect execution. Twilight tried to get a little bit of distance. Darshan's low. The boomerang does not tag Surdy, but Shaden's there to scare away Surdy, so he does not fully commit for the solo kill.
But so is
the
Tomio.
junglers are both here. They have both arrived. Shaden spotted out. The Heartbreaker does not connect, and the damage coming in from Tomio. Back into the fight. It's a kill for Trundle. They're paying the troll toll.
That's a tilter coming through. Now Tomio's going to try and find his way into Darshan. Flash coming up.
He's got pillar, I think, still. There it is. The flash in, and with red buff, 2 kills to Tomio.
Tomio finds his 3rd kill of the game, 2nd on to Shaden, finally taking down Darshan. And Darshan and Shaden, they're trying to find their way into taking down Surdy, not quite able to find it. But this play coming through from Surdy, right? He's so desperate trying to find these solo kills onto Darshan, trying to find this advantage, and it's so close, right? Not landing the last auto attack, and Shaden ends up coming around, but it feels as though it's just this hard read from Tomio, immediately coming up towards the top side. They know he's going to try and heartbreak over the wall, and Tomio just ready to take him down. And then after that, this play is relatively easy. This is Darshan being greedy.
Yeah, he should have backed, knowing that the Trundle was top lane. Even with Hop, it can get interrupted by Pillar. It's a lot of what does Cubby say? It's the unforced errors.
Unforced errors, yeah, exactly. You know, the baseball term. Yeah. You don't want to make the unforced errors. You gotta.
He said it was a tennis term, but I don't know because I don't know
it's
tennis.
Both.
Okay.
Right.
I'm a baseball. I used to play baseball, and I hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah, I mean, you're familiar at least in baseball with like you have hits, runs, errors, right?
Yeah.
You know, there are forced errors, which are like are typically not counted, and the E generally just means forced errors aren't counted, and unforced errors are like, yeah, right. You screwed up, right? Like you overshot the first baseman, ball sailed over his head. That's not the first baseman's fault.
Right. That's why I'm just used to them being called errors. So that's why the unforced part is what more got me. It's an interesting term. I kind of like that term, but we got to look at the terms of this game, of how they're kind of escalating at the moment. Evil Geniuses, despite having 3 kills, they're all on Trundle.
Yeah,
and
they're behind in gold.
Right, and I need to see them put more of that gold in someone like Cowrie, who normally they play around, and when Cowrie's ahead, that's when we see Evil Geniuses in those team fights in the late game stages really have that impact.
So we'll see what Cowrie can do, right? He is on a champion that is not well renowned for its laning phase. Instead, he's going to be relying much more on trying to play the later team fights. And so much of like Cowrie's success historically or in spring when he was playing alongside Skytech was his ability to build leads in the laning phase, right? He would have Tomio come down, they would take control of fights there, and he would come out with leads. He's not necessarily the kind of player who will always come back in every kind of game, but that is the distinction, right? If you're going to be the TCL MVP, if you're going to be the all-pro #1, those are the kind of things we want you to be able to do.
Oh, Darshan, he has Mega. About to survive, or is he? Dive back in for Surdy. There's transition of gold while Destiny gets tagged by Smoothie. Might be able to get away, but all they have to do is get a couple more concussive blows, a couple more autos. He's able to escape. There it is, tagging him again. Shuriken flip forward, looking for that damage, but perfect execution. Nearly got him on top of Destiny. If it wasn't for Copy, now here, using the Chaos Storm of Ruin. That bruise the depths, and King is now excited. He can chase down Saligo. He's got the damage, and all has gone awry for EG as their cleanup crew of the Oceanic bot lane comes through.
There we go, and suddenly the gold lead looking quite a bit bigger for Cloud9. Unforced errors coming through all over the place, though. Definitely a much sloppier game coming out from both sides than what we've been looking from them in recent weeks, right? Cloud9 just punish a huge overextension from Evil Geniuses. You're seeing Surdy being so aggressive, trying to prove that he's the better top laner, but Darshan, what was this?
Again, yeah, an unforced error, kind of like talked about, dies here. I feel like Evil Geniuses at that point, they scared off Copy, and once you don't get Destiny there, that's when you just peel back.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the gravity field comes down, it's too late, right? Shaden's able to come right back on the backside, and as you called out, just staying a little bit too long. That's one of the difference makers between some of the best teams in Academy and some of the teams that are still trying to fight for a top 3 spot, is that, you know, teams like Team Liquid and 100 Thieves and Cloud9 are much less likely to make that error than Evil Geniuses.
And even when they make that error, they could find ways to clean up past that. Now, Evil Geniuses, even if the dragon was taken by Cloud9, they wanted to fight on the other side to find a pick. Now, Dirty's got to be really cautious with 2 members there, but the pick could be onto King. Here's the Shurima Shuffle, but King's still alive. Dashing in, that's going to be a shutdown picked up by Cowrie. Can he pop up in the fight? Can he get the damage out onto these members as he's trying to peel back the farthest he can? Well, Smoothie took too much damage. Same with Tomio, but they got the dive committed from Surdy, and Surdy falls in the fight while Cowrie does help Tomio pick up the kill on the other side. It's about re-engaging. How is this fight just all over the place? 3v3. Cowrie, I could tell he wanted to fight, but the rest of the team wasn't as confident.
Everyone in the fight just kind of all over the place, but Tomio, the big winner, he finds Copy.
Finds Copy, and that's a Shurima Shuffle, getting Stopwatch and Heartbreaker out of Cloud9. Flash as well, but Flash reciprocated. That's a rocket going wide right between the field goal, and Jaden's in a little bit of world of hurt as he tries to escape from the battle with no turret to retreat to. They can cut off that. Saligo is on the other side. That's the dash from the Spectral Maw, and the flash in. There it is, flash away.
Tomio finding another 100% kill participation, 4, 1, and 3 already coming out for the Evil Geniuses jungler. But this fight, one of the most chaotic things we've seen in a long time, right? Copy and Shade not able to participate at the beginning, and Darshan having to use a hop. He doesn't have a bar, but everybody just kind of sitting in AoE, not sure what side that they can go to. And you even see like Smoothie trying to help out this fight against Darshan, instantly dies to a boulder on that side. Surdy going really deep in order to try and find a kill, and so both top laners go down as a 4-4 and 80 carry, and eventually, yeah, it's just all over the place. Both sides trying to make a bunch of plays. Both sides trying to show that they have the better hands.
I gotta give a lot of credit to Saligo. He's a player that has kind of struggled in this split and last. But we've seen the successes with things like Lissandra, and now onto a more mechanically intensive champion like Azir. How many things he dodged in that last fight shows why he was this player, and has been a player that people have talked about in the past. He just hasn't had that success lately.
So, as he continues to try and find his way in. He didn't play this game the same way as he has some of his most successful games thus far. And so this is when he needs to start kind of stepping up and showcasing why, you know, as you're starting to say, we're starting to look at him as a player that can do multiple things for his team. He is still a little bit behind his lane opponent, and the only other player that they really have a gold lead on for Evil Geniuses is Tomio. And Tomio has had a bit of a rough split. He's showed a lot of improvements in terms of his ability to move around the map, but this might be some of his best actual team fighting when he's just going in and whacking people over the head.
Well, when you have a team that's in the bottom 4, it's always pretty clear that they've had a lot of issues across the board. And seeing growth and learning from those mistakes is what really drives home the narrative that we can look at them towards Proving Grounds and how they'll perform. Because Evil Geniuses, they are a team that tends to get 1-1s. We saw that before, back in spring, back last year. We're seeing it again recently. It's not been the full season of 1-1s like we used to see, but it does show that they are getting to a better position. Right now, they got to be careful because that's the flash coming in from Destiny on top. There's so much damage on a Smoothie. The nice Glacial Fissure might delay the fight long enough so they take out Viego. But Tomio is in a world of hurt with the Chaos Storm brewing on top of his head. He'll get shot down by Copy, with everyone else having to bail out of the fight because they don't have the damage to try to see if they can contend anymore.
Jungler down. They finally take down Tomio. That's a big shutdown, and this is the dangerous part of the game, right? As Copy starts to get his items completed, as King already on 2 items. This is where Evil Geniuses needs to look at the game and correctly deduce that they are a bit farther behind than they might initially expect based on the turret count, based on the objective count. The farm difference has been huge. With Destiny, one of our criticisms has always been his ability to go for fights, but this time showing no hesitation, going right on in in order to try and make the play happen. And Tomio just burning down to the last couple of ticks of the Chaos Storm and the Leandries.
There was no escape for him, unfortunately, and that's the power that you have with Victor, with Leandries. A health stacker that wants to get tankier as the game progresses, not going to be able to really cut it against that Chaos Storm.
He has no MR yet either, so he will absolutely melt. But Cloud9, they don't have control of the river. Evil Genius is looking to prevent them from coming in.
They did have enough members, plus the turret to back up too. Evil Geniuses, that would have been a fun fight, but a risky fight if they tried to go for that dive, even if Darshan wasn't a part of it. So now they're just pushing out, gaining a little bit of vision around this dragon that is going to come up. They don't want to give soul point potential over to Cloud9. They could try to even it up, and they're burning it pretty fast. But here's Cloud9 using Darshan, who's a magical Mega, over the wall. Now they pull back in. Got Smoothie with the double knockup coming in from the depth charge, and Toby had to flash out of the pit to survive. But now, what an Emperor's Divine! Saligo's still alive, and they can clean up. Evil Geniuses dive into the backline. The Oceanic bot lane is dead. Calorie is fed, and Copy will only turn one around and give a quadra kill to Calorie.
Huge play coming through from Evil Geniuses. They grab the dragon, and Saligo and Surdy, the solo laners, really setting up success in this fight. Surdy coming in from the flank is so patient, walks all the way around, but Saligo sees the engage coming through, sees all the abilities being dumped on his front line, and instantly dumps them all into one spot. Cowrie gets to a free hit, even with no mana. His Q is still going to be ripping everybody apart, and Surdy creating even more chaos. Eventually, I think he's the one who actually steals the pentakill, but just so much control coming out from Evil Geniuses in that fight. The game plans they've had in the latter half of the season really paying off huge.
Is it really stealing a pentakill if you're the first one to get the kill?
Yes.
I feel like, if anything, Cowrie stole Saligo's pentakill.
All right, we'll have to ask them about that after the game if we get an interview with either one of them. But Evil Geniuses, even with this huge play, notice that they're still down about 2,000 gold. The game is still hanging in the balance.
Look at the gold difference between the bot lane. That which once had favored King pretty heavily, now shifted, even if it's only a minor lead for Cowrie. He's got 3 items completed to himself. This is a big spike because we look at Zeri and how she scales into the game. Jinx scales just as well. But it's now a battle of how they position as we take a look to the top lane. Nice use of stopwatch out of Saligo. Darshan gets caught out again.
Yeah, and if we're talking about it right, well, him being there might be an unforced error. I don't even think it's necessarily that bad, right? You already have Copy on the other side. He's hitting a turret. Those were all forced errors coming through as Cloud9 now to contest the Baron 4v5.
But they will back out. Evil Geniuses do not want to risk too much there. Ooh, rocket body blocked. So they go slow, but shouldn't have been able to pick up the kill. Either way, Cloud9 do thwart any Baron take. The neutral objective will remain.
Yeah. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Cloud9.
Hex Flash, looking to get over the wall. Does not land. It was a Spider-Man to the wall instead. A Glacial Fissure to break up the fight with the TP behind. Dirty, Gravity will lock him in place, but guess who's also there? They also got Saligo into the pit, so they can look to dive and split up the fight completely, with Cloud9 having only 2 members on one side, try to kite back the best they can. The other side, Poppy, it looked like he might have been in a little bit of danger from Surdy, but Surdy had backed off, not wanting to make an error, not wanting to overextend himself.
Now Cloud9, we're back to the previous play, right? You gotta contest the Baron 4v5.
Look where King is. King is on the Raptors, so it won't be an even fight with Pillar to block up the escape. Copy flashes over the wall, but Darshan is really who they have eyes for before he can even go Mega with the Shuriken. Nice use of it, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough for Darshan to survive.
I've seen this play before, right? Now Cloud9 trying to prevent Evil Geniuses from backing.
Copy knows. There's the Gravity Well.
Yeah.
Poking Tomio.
Yeah. Stops his back. Yeah. Get a little bit of extra farm for King. Yeah. But still, we are back to a position.
They do have a 2,000 gold lead, so, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's back to the same, right? We are right back to a similar position that we were looking at before. It just feels as though, you know, it's like nobody will notice if we just play the same scene twice, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. But now Cloud9, remember, they were the ones who had to walk into the Dragon River late. They were not able to be there first, and so Evil Geniuses was allowed to get Sturdy into this deep flank position. If Cloud9 are the first ones to the punch, if they are going to be creating a lot of space, it creates a much more difficult position for Sturdy to try and find these flanks. And we all know, Sun Tzu says, if you force them into a choke point, they have to walk through Gravity Field and Chaos Storm. That's the first line.
In the Art of War.
It's actually the
first
subtitle.
line.
The subtitle, right? The Art of War, controlling choke points with Victor.
You said Gravity Well, though.
No, I didn't.
We can check the tapes. We have audio proof. It's all recorded.
Looks Photoshop to me.
You photoshopping audio.
Yes.
Okay.
Either way, regardless, Cloud9 are here late. It's Evil Geniuses taking control.
But it's also still not soul point for either team. They're Evil Geniuses, even if they get this while soul point is nice, it's not necessarily going to be the losing moment. Getting Darshan picked off could have been.
Could have been 1-6 so far. Darshan having a pretty unimpressive game, but trading the second tier turret here as Copy picks this up. Probably going to have enough money for his Rabadon next time he actually backs, but the Dragon should be going over to Evil Geniuses, and this play from Cloud9 is threatening to at least make Evil Geniuses think about the Baron, not allowing them to devote everybody. And so Darshan, you cheeky bugger.
But it is so hard to steal away from Saligo on Azir. Now that Tomio shows up, it's like, okay, I get the play. That was cheeky. That was very, very cheeky. For those that didn't realize what had happened, he threw out the boomerang, so in a direction where it could get further reach, and so it wasn't even spotted by Evil Geniuses. And when it comes back, it actually gains a little bit more momentum, so that he was hoping that it would connect onto the Dragon and steal it.
It would have been very cheeky, right? Just sitting around. But now Darshan trying to find his opportunity to continue playing. He still has a huge game-changing ultimate, but the players that we have to be looking at to do the damage, going back to Copy and King. Shaden had a couple of moments where he was much more relevant in the game, but he's going to get outranged. He's going to struggle to keep up with Surdy. He's going to struggle to get to Saligo and Kaori. He has to just trade blows with Smoothie and Tomio, and that's not the kind of game plan that Viego really wants to play.
No, but as long as Cloud9 can even pick up a single kill in a fight, they have resets on their side in both Viego and Jinx. That could start off a fight. That's what I think their game plan is. Try to find someone a little bit too far out, someone by themselves maybe that they can pick off and use that reset to gain control of the fight.
The player that hasn't been caught out just quite yet is Dart. Okay, buddy.
I mean, Darshan is a level up, and look at the damage he does to Zerdy. He's chasing him down. No way, Darshan. 1, then 6. He gets a solo kill on Zerdy.
How about them apples? Darshan 1 and 6. Like you said, getting the solo kill now carries on the wrong side of the map. Isn't able to prevent Darshan from teleporting on out.
Can they steal it though? Tomio does not want to get in the pit. They have to sacrifice. The play from Darshan, the pick that he gets, enables his team to secure Baron.
That is absolutely wild. I would never have made that play, but that's why Darshan is on the stage, and I am talking about it. Cloud9 find their way back in. The gold lead has remained steady, 2,000 to 4,000 basically this entire time. But now, this is the opportunity for Cloud9 to take a bunch of turrets, to create enough map pressure. Look at how low the top lane inhibitor turret already is because of the amount of time that Copy spent up there while the previous Ocean Dragon died.
But dude, Darshan was 1 and 6 when he got that solo kill. He should not have been able to kill Zerdy. Zerdy, I think, even had a component lead above him when it came to items, yet Darshan chased him down and has a gold lead now on him after that.
Crazy stuff. There's so many ways that we've been seeing top players come back into the game that feels as though it should be illegal, but now Cloud9 is when they have to take their moment, and you see the Death Brush coming in from Sligo and Tomio.
There are reinforcements nearby. King blocked from getting away. Nice Rima shuffle, but they already lose Sligo for it, and King is excited, but he's chopped down, slowed down, and he is taken out by Zerdy's flank, with Shaden being the next target for the mercy and the wrath that is Zerdy diving into the backline, looking for Copy, shutting him down, taking out the jungler and taking out everybody else along with him. Only Shaden, the jungler, somehow escapes, but you can tell they want to get more gold and more kills.
Is he not on the ward? They don't see him. That is hilarious. That is so funny that Shaden found that little pocket where nobody could see him. But Evil Geniuses, they turned that play around. We've been talking about players like Arrow. We've been talking about players like Tomo as people who get caught out. But King, I mean, Cubbies was talking about this previously with 50-50 reaction flashes, right? King could have gotten out of that with a flash, and suddenly Evil Geniuses have no play at all, but they get caught out, and Cowrie, the young marksman coming over from Turkey, is instead the one who takes over. He's able to chase down Copy. He turns around, gets the damage onto Darshan as well, and Cowrie, the newer generation of marksman, is showcasing what it means to have a good game up against somebody who's been playing since 2014.
I also want to give praise to Zerdy in that fight. The flank that he got in that one to set up and really scatter all the members, where Cloud9 then felt disjointed because of his presence on top of Copy, on top of even Darshan, where they did not feel comfortable taking the fight any further because they had to see if they could just peel back to deal with Zerdy.
Yeah, and now, as we start looking at the Ocean Soul potentially for Evil Geniuses, Cloud9 have control, or do not have control of the river, rather, as Evil Geniuses control the space. And remember, King does not have flash for this fight. He cannot afford to walk forward, so Sligo presents a ton of threat to him.
Like I said before, the resets could be beneficial for Cloud9. They could just get one quickly enough, but like you said, there's no time. Shaden is way too low, has to heal up on Krugs, which means Soul Point, no, not Soul Point, Soul itself is secured by Evil Geniuses.
I'd like to think that it is going to be enough to actually end the game, put Evil Geniuses in a firm position of actually trying to take this down. But we saw it yesterday, right? Tactical, coming through with the big plays, even when Evil Geniuses were knocking on the door of the Nexus. They had the Ocean Soul.
One hit away, too.
They were one hit away from taking it down. Evil Geniuses are favored from this position, right? You have plenty of damage. Cowrie has gotten 4 items. He's able to hit anybody he wants, and he's got the range to do it.
However,
Cloud9 still have win conditions, right? They have enough burst that it might not matter.
Revenge. Zerdy wants it. Darshan, he's got him locked down for so long, but there's more damage now. Perfect execution back. The Chaos Storm is there to try to defend Darshan. Sligo punts him back underneath the turret, but Darshan is still alive. Sligo flashing away, but Zerdy is the target. The resets are there for Cloud9. They have thwarted the solo kill for Zerdy, and now the rest of them are in danger. Help me, help me. They've got resets. They've got chase down. King has the peel for the team, and look at those rockets. How much damage it does to someone like Tomio. But Cowrie is still threatening Cowrie is still 6-0, and he does a ton of damage.
Yeah, Flank's area, though, not particularly threatening, especially because Cloud9 know where they are. That's a turret going down for Evil Geniuses, and if their base opens, that is incredibly dangerous. Cowrie needs to get back.
Cowrie will be back towards the turret, but this turret, I think, is lost. Even with that zap, they could not clear out the minions fast enough. They still have 10 seconds until Surdy will respawn, so an inhibitor has been forfeit. Evil Geniuses are chasing down Cloud9 out of their base. With Surdy about to spawn, he could TP pretty far back to enemy lines, and there it is.
There it is.
There's going to be the TP, but it's all spotted out by Cloud9, who try to answer. They've got him rooted. They've got the pullback in with the dredge line, but he dies over the wall, getting a lot of damage on that Chaos Storm as well. Smoothie still barely alive, but so is Surdy. Somehow, everyone is surviving. Low health bars abound, but it's Destiny they now focus on. He got the charge, but here's the Saligo. What a play coming in from Saligo. Spoon feeding Cowrie, flashing over the wall, flash away from Darshan. But this is Evil Geniuses coming here to battle, showing that they're willing to prove themselves in the proving grounds and topple top teams.
Cloud9 as well. They made a mistake. I said they were less likely to. Evil Geniuses chasing them down.
This should be the unofficial quadra kill for Cowrie. Though Darshan is getting a bit of distance away, might survive, in fact, but his team will not. There's 20 seconds left until Shaden, 20 seconds left until King.
This should be the end of the game, right? Ocean Soul is still up for Evil Geniuses. They do not go down. They can easily dive Darshan, and the waves are there.
And Darshan getting tagged up, has the concussive blows, but Evil Geniuses do not want to risk anything like they did yesterday. They want to claim the trophy and claim Game 1 over Cloud9.
Evil Geniuses picking it up, taking down one of our top seeds. Cloud9 no longer in contention for that second seed. They can no longer improve their standings, even with the 2-0 that Team Liquid had of over 100 Thieves. And Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest surging at the right moment. I was so worried. They lost 2 members in the bottom lane. And Cloud9, they got the inhibitor, but then they overextended. Copy doing so much to create space, and it doesn't matter.
This also keeps Evil Geniuses in the running for getting the 7th seed as opposed to the 8th seed. One victory here. We don't know how the Immortal series is going just yet against Dignitas. Well, hopefully we'll find out after our break. But looking at that, it could be all onto if Evil Geniuses pick up a 2-0 and there's only one game picked by Immortals. Suddenly, Evil Geniuses are going to be the team that will take that 7th seed. But for now, we're going to toss that break. When we come back, we'll have our host Kangas here for our halftime show. So make sure you stay tuned.